Anything Cricket, Let's Talk is brought to you by Rascals Barbados and Omega Pest Control Limited. Welcome to Anything Cricket, Let's Talk. We're broadcasting from the studios of the Caribbean Media Corporation, Bridgetown, Barbados. On today's show, we'll be looking at the CPL, Women's Cricket, the Ashes, and the Barbados Cricket Association's Elite Division. I'll also take the opportunity to invite you to follow us on Instagram, like us on Facebook, and if you've not already done so, subscribe to our YouTube channel. We also welcome your comments during and after the show. So when we come back, Anything Cricket, Let's Talk. Rascals Barbados. Let us serve you in a relaxed atmosphere with complimentary Wi-Fi or try a takeout meal. Rascals on the Mighty Grinder Highway. Call 538-9990. Well, the Ashes are on their way back to Australia, but the English certainly restored any pride that would have been lost in that penultimate test match win, and an event that hardly ever happens in the Ashes, a tied series, 2-2. What lessons are there for the West Indies and all those who have been watching on over the past several weeks?
Well, what I can say is that both of these teams were very well prepared. If you recall, the Australians, they would have set up camp in the United Kingdom where they had their A team in competition whilst the World Cup was going on, and they had as many as about 24 cricketers together. They were able to play a practice or trial match ahead of the start of the test series, and thereby select what they thought would have been the best unit. So preparation, I thought, was one of the key things that came out of the series. It also showed that sometimes teams may be dominant, but still you can get this equality in the result, because as far as I'm concerned, the 2-all result really doesn't indicate the superiority that Australia had over England for the most of the series. But the visitors, they would have dropped the ball somewhat on a couple of occasions and allowed England to get back into matches where they really should not have. And one thinks about that stupendous comeback at Headingley, the great Ben Stokes' legendary performance. And also, but if you look at it, the statistics will show you that the Australians really dominated the series, but still in the end, the honours had to be shared.
But yes, and that Stokes innings that you made a reference to, I think he said after he would have traded that for the Ashes. But I think he's selling himself short and that effort short, because that innings really and truly, I would say, set up the situation where the series was shared and turned what could easily have been something like a 3-love into a shared series.
But yes, I mean, for all intents and purposes, it should have been 3-0 at the end of the 4th test, you know, but again, we know what happened. And then, again, I thought Australia got it wrong in the final test.
Oh, yes.
Starting with the selection of the team. Yep. You know, having decided that they will bring the all-rounder Mitchell Marsh back into the side, and then not have a third impact bowler, a strike bowler, in the form of Mitchell Starc or or even James Pattinson, and going with Peter Siddle and Mitchell Marsh, which was much of the sameness. And for all the control that they would have been able to exercise, they were not able to dominate the English batting like they had for a major part of the series.
Tim Paine's captaincy throughout the series, is he secure? Is he a long-term captain?
Well, from all indications, he is. He has been designated as the man to lead this Australia revival after the events of South Africa a couple of years ago. And though he was not impactful with his performance on the field, he didn't make the world of runs.
His keeping on occasions didn't look that great either, really. He took most of the catches that came his way, but apart from that, you know, there are times when he looked a bit sloppy to me.
Well, yes, maybe in some other jurisdictions he would be under pressure, but from what I've been gathering in my following of the thinking among the Australian cricket think tank, he seems to be fairly secure in his position at the moment.
So no chance of a Smith maybe coming back into the reckoning as captain in the medium to long term?
More long than medium, I would think.
What about Joe Root? Joe Root is saying that he wants to be the one to bring the Ashes back to England. Is he likely to get that chance, considering that the next Ashes series is almost 2 years away?
2 years away. I think so. I think so. Joe Root, this result would have stood Joe Root in good stead if the Australians had really run away with this series and, like you said, a 3-1 or 3-0 or 4-0. Joe Root might have been under some pressure, but I think he's earned himself a reprieve by squaring the series.
And I think he was fairly honest, if you want a better word, in admitting that he has not yet mastered the use of Joe Archer.
Well, yes, he did say that. I mean, Archer is a new entity on the English cricket scene. For all of his talent and all of his abilities, he really is a new entity. I mean, the Englishmen hardly know Joe Archer. He hardly knows them. You know, so yeah, I could appreciate him having that problem. And no, they have now got to really forge a relationship.
We're talking about lessons learned, and not only for the English and the Australians, but for all those who would have followed the series. And if we pull one thing that may be relevant to the West Indies, you mentioned the name Joe Archer. What can the West Indies administrators do? What can be done to reduce the chances of losing players who we have developed?
I don't know that there is much that can be done. You know, players have the modern day player. You know. I think in a very singular manner. There was a time when, yes, the West Indies and representing country and nation was the be-all and end-all. I think players have now branded themselves as individual brands. And I suspect that players, as has happened with the T20 franchise format, you will see it more and more. Players will be looking after their own interests and going where the best opportunity lies. So I don't know if there's a lot that the West Indies can do other than put down some mandate within the law or whatever, you know, to say that a player cannot do such or cannot do this, cannot do that. Or like we've seen here recently, with a number of countries, particularly the Pakistanis, who have withdrawn a number of their players from our CPL, you know, because they suggesting that they want their players playing in their domestic competitions, even with the lucrative offers that have been made to them in the CPL. So I don't know if the West Indies, Cricket West Indies has that power to exercise such a regime.
Well, I suppose it could be a question of if you don't, then you could possibly suffer greater consequences. What I think we all cricket lovers though would have taken from the Ashes series is that with all the T20 and all sorts of things and the negativity and the concerns about cricket, Test cricket is still very much alive.
And I think that has a lot to do with this new World Test Championship. Although, I mean, the Ashes stand
alone as a
as a competition, and whether there was whether there was a World Test Championship or not, the Ashes would always carry the utmost importance in the cricketing sphere, and particularly between the two combatant countries.
So, well done to England and Australia. certainly exciting cricket, good cricket, and I think they've done a real great job in selling the sport of Test cricket. We'll be back with more on Anything Cricket. Let's talk.
Rascals Barbados. Let us serve you in a relaxed atmosphere with complimentary Wi-Fi or try a takeout meal. Rascals on the Mighty Griner Highway. Call 538-9990.
When you have been watching very closely, at least the T20 series, it's been a very one-sided affair. What are your impressions?
Well, as you said, quite a gulf between these two teams. The Australians, #1 ranked team in the world, one-day internationals and T20, an excellently prepared unit, well drilled, well coached, well prepared, and the West Indies somewhat, well, depleted definitely. I mean, the impact of a West Indies team having to play without a Haley Matthews, Deandra Dottin, Shakira Selma, one of the more experienced players in the team. So, I mean, coming up against the Australians, whom would have been favourites nonetheless, and then losing some of your better and more experienced players, it was always going to be the work cut out for the West Indies, and they've also introduced a few new players. So the Australians really all over the West Indies. It is difficult though to see the West Indies really competing with this Australian side. This unit looks so superb. I don't know, so maybe I am biased. I have this admiration for the Australian way of doing things and this Australian cricket. And you know, seeing it before my eyes, I marvel.
So what are the implications really for West Indies cricket, West Indies women's cricket? I mean, this is a side, not necessarily the same players, but the West Indies, remember winning the T20 World Cup competition, just 2016, that's like just over 3 years ago, basically. You know, it's been pretty much downhill since then, not so?
Yes, but in 2016, you would have come across a side at its zenith. You had some very experienced players who had been working their way up the ladder over a number of years. And since that event in 2016, you would have seen then the retirement of a long-standing captain and a very experienced wicketkeeper, Marissa Aguilera. Anisa Mohammed, who at one point, or still may very well be still, one of the leading wicket takers in women's cricket in the white ball area. She, getting on in age, has shown through a loss of form, you know, and then we've had these niggles from time to time. So the West Indies team basically very much in transition. Yeah. One would have to say, and we would have to definitely look to rebuild. But
are there players to rebuild with? I mean, they're players on the fringes?
Well, I have seen two newcomers, two debutants, two players who made the respective debut during this series. There's a young Shabita Ghaznavi, a medium pace all-rounder, and an off-spinner by the name of another Shanita Grimmond. And they look promising.
What about the batters?
Batting-wise, I
think that has already been a problem.
Batting-wise, batting-wise, again,
Taylor, you've had Dottin, but
again, without
Haley Matthews, of course.
Without Dottin and Matthews, the batting really will suffer. The batting, the quality of the batting would dip tremendously. So yes, we've got that area to fill, and I haven't seen the new any new cricketers coming through to fill those roles out. That would suggest that the batting stocks look really healthy.
I've heard cricket fans, cricket lovers talking, and it seems as though some are suggesting that the series has been a well-kept secret. What have the crowds been like?
Well, the first match, by the standards that we have become accustomed to, a decent crowd.
By the T20, by the women's standards or standards generally?
By
speaking?
standards generally outside of international cricket, outside of the popular T20.
So the secret got out there?
I'm not so sure that the secret got out, because I came across a number of cricket fans who follow cricket very closely, who were not aware, first of all, that the Australians were here and that the series was going on. It was very much a very well-kept secret, and I think it's an indictment against Cricket West Indies, particularly, and maybe to a lesser extent the Barbados Cricket Association, who would have been the agents of Cricket West Indies here in Barbados. But it was sad to see. I mean, even the media houses didn't seem to come up to scratch. But then again, if you have a situation where Cricket West Indies put out a release on the morning of the first match, naming the squad for the series, and that would have been the first official contact made with the various media houses.
Would not have had a whole lot to work with.
Well, immediately, right? Although, I mean, I would take it for granted if I were a sports reporter in a media house, it would have been my duty to stay on top of certain situations and know what is going on. But I would not put the blame wholly on them. It definitely was a dropping of the ball by Cricket West Indies.
But I guess the media houses can say, well, look, you know, if it is your event and you're not excited about it, what do you want me to do?
Well, they can, I mean, but then again, everybody's not me. I get excited about cricket if I pass and see two little boys playing between two palings. You know, but
I think that's really the passion that you want to work up in the society, in the community generally.
Well, yes, it has to start. It has to start at the beginning, at the top. And this time, I would have to. The blows go to Cricket West Indies for not promoting this series, and well, I'm sure that had this series been properly promoted, the support would have been a lot greater than what we had seen.
So the team not doing well, the support not really there. From what you're saying, not much immediate light at the end of that tunnel, or it might be a very long tunnel. So not a whole lot to encourage fans.
What I am identifying coming out of this exercise is a blatant neglect of women's cricket. You know, because you talk about that promotion, that preparation, and there were other aspects of events that occurred at the opening of this series. I mean, you had a situation where the electronic scoreboard was not available and up and running at the start of an international, this was an international series. This is an ICC sanctioned international series.
And it was streamed too, wasn't it?
It is streamed, yes, streamed worldwide. Yeah. And you have, believe it or not, as simple as it may seem, the exact protocols that would be in place for this match, for this series, are the protocols that are in place for the Ashes, for instance, as an ICC international event. You know, and it left a lot to be desired, and it did not shine a very good light on cricket administrators and we generally as the people in the West Indies.
Well, sad news indeed in terms of women's cricket and the immediate future for women's cricket. But we can only hope that this is a learning exercise and a learning experience for all, and that there will be a sincere effort to do better. We'll be back on Anything Cricket. Let's talk.
Don't let annoying pests bug you. Lick them for 6. Omega Pest Control is the perfect solution. We are experts in termite and pest eradication, specialized mosquito treatments, foundation, residential, commercial, and industrial treatments. Call us day or night, or visit us at our office located at Fieldside Drive, Long Gap, St. Michael. Omega Pest Control. Call 425-5954, 231-6526, or email us at opcl@caribsurf.com.
When Sheridan Pierre, a young journalist who operates out of Trinidad, he's been keeping a close eye on the CPL as well. And I had a chat with him to get his views on what has happened in the CPL so far.
Sure, Don. How are you doing?
I'm fine. Good to be here.
Yes, I believe the CPL would have been keeping you quite busy. How has it been going from your end so far? I believe you're a supporter of the Trinbago Net Raiders. They've really been on fire until they met their match.
Well, actually, I started off supporting Barbados Tridents, from the first CPL in 2013.
Mm-hmm.
I was there for the first match. I think Barbados Tridents at the early stages, I think Robinson was the coach and Karen Paula was the captain. I think they understood the idea of franchise cricket before any other teams. They selected players based on their T20 skills.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember the first year they won all of 5 home matches in Barbados, defeating Trinidad out in Trinidad for like 50-something odd runs. I was there. And obviously they won the year after, in 2014, under the captaincy of Karen Pollard. So I always liked Barbados Tridents.
Is that because of the Karen Pollard factor?
Oh, no, I just like the way that they selected their team.
Okay.
There was always good players. I always liked Jason Holder, Karen Pollard, and Shoaib Malik. Shoaib Malik, I think, is a really good player. Riyad Emirates is a good friend of mine. So I was a Barbados Trident supporter from the get-go.
Who are you supporting now?
Now I'm kind of mutual. I have so many friends on the various teams. So it's difficult to support. You support the players, and I think the Caribbean. I support the Caribbean Premier League.
Mm-hmm. Well, I can tell you the last match played by that last home game for the Patriots are certainly a real ding-dong battle. I think a match that, irrespective of the winner, did a lot for cricket and for the CPL with that super over victory.
Yeah, maybe they should do away with the super over. It's taken away from the game. We know how the 50 over World Cup went down to the super over, and everyone had mixed reactions. But I'm just joking.
You just joking.
Yeah, maybe if TKR was any winning, then it would have been a more joyous occasion for the Trinis. But yeah, it was a very the fans they won a pack were the winners in the end.
Mm-hmm, true. But did you say it as a battle of the former T20 captain against the new T20 captain? Did it come down to that in your estimation?
Well, I saw a picture earlier today that both Carlos and Pollard was meeting with the CWI president, Ricky Skerritt. So I think that they're working together. And, I guess anything is added motivation right now.
Mm-hmm.
Carlos, who obviously wanted to get better off the new captain.
Yeah, because we haven't seen him play like that very often in T20 since the famous final over. Yes, he's had a couple of good knocks. In the World Cup, 1 or 2 good knocks in the World Cup for sure, and otherwise in the longer version, the 50 over. But he hasn't done a whole lot in T20. But certainly that match against the Trinbago Net Raiders, led by Karen Pollard, he pulled out all the stops, and I think in the end, bowling that super over, I think that said a lot.
Yeah. Well, it was his day. He said in the post conference that it was his day, so he decided. There was some sort of words passing there between coach, staff, and players. I think that they wanted Alzari Joseph to bowl a super over.
But he was asked about that, and he indicated that they were supporting him.
Yeah. So
I don't know who bought it, but
yeah. So the team, he took it up on himself. He played a really good knock. I think his bowling has improved a lot over the last year also. He is, a man of his build should have been bowling a lot faster, but he has improved his bowling a lot. His T20 bowling, he has become a lot more economical, and he's getting a lot more Yorkers into the black hole, and it's a little more difficult to hit now than in previous years. So, so I can definitely say his bowling has improved a lot.
Who do you expect to come out on top in this year's CPL?
Well, I was looking at three teams. I was looking at the Guyana Amazon team. I think they have a really powerful lineup in terms of batting. They're probably short on in terms of fast bowling, and they'll hit a blow when Sharab Khan will have to leave. Well, left the camp to rejoin Pakistan.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, but a replacement in Imran Tahir is almost similar, or maybe even better, more experience. So I think that they could do pretty well. Just that they're lacking experience in their batting. We like sort of Hetmeyer, Rutherford, and these guys are still inexperienced per se, but they have a really powerful lineup. I think their opening partnership could be a little better, but Chana Paul, Himraj, and Brandon King is not a bad opening pair. And one problem I'm noticing is the batting lineups for the teams.
Mm-hmm.
There are so many batsmen now that I don't think the only team that really found out their batting lineup is TKR. But now there's some changes will be made now as Darren Bravo is back into the team. Normally that they went with Colin Monroe is obviously the number 3 batsman, and then it was Dinesh Ramdin and Karen Pollard with Nisham and probably Javon Searles out there to come after. But now with Bravo in the mix now, probably Ramdin, Bravo and Pollard have to part up. So there's a bit of, I don't know how they'll sort that out. I personally feel for Barbados Tridents. I mean, Boucher has been doing really good, especially his glove work and his batting. He has a few scores. But I believe that people come against me, but I really believe in Jason Ola. I think he should be batting number 3 because he has the ability to bat throughout. He can play the offensive shot and he can rotate the strike. If not Jason Ola, probably JP Dumini. You give the better batsmen the more balls to face. JP Dumini won the MVP in the just concluded Global T20 in Canada.
Mm-hmm.
I believe he was among the most runs as well, so he is in some pretty good form. He could hit over the top as well as nudge the ball. Even Carter, I think Carter is being wasted down in here. When you have hitters like Carter, Roshan Primus and Ashinas facing last 3 overs, you're wasting them.
So it's been great talking to you, and certainly we will be seeking your opinion again as the CPL continues. And so keep a close eye, and we'll be looking forward to hearing from you again.
All right, then. Thank you very much.
Rascals Barbados. Let us serve you in a relaxed atmosphere with complimentary Wi-Fi, or try a takeout meal. Rascals on the Mighty Griner Highway. Call 538-9990.
The 4th series of the Barbados Cricket Association's Elite Division ended last weekend, and the standings are quite interesting. The Empire side and Wildy started as joint leaders, but Empire now they've picked up a 2-point lead at the top. They've gone to 67 points after a narrow victory over the Barbados Defence Force Youth Sports Program. What really should have been an easy win, a set about 53 runs to win, and they lost them 8 wickets getting there. But they got there, and 67 points to them. Wildy just behind on 65, and then a bit of a gap. Wonders, who had a pretty good match against Carlton, they're 3rd on 49. Then we come down to Spartan on 39. UWI in a very unfamiliar position, and some may say one of their own making, having defaulted, if you will. The opening game, not defaulted, they would have forfeited that opening game after they had concerns about the outfield, and that in itself caused quite a bit of controversy. And then there's Carlton on 31, Gladiola 21, and the Barbados Defence Force Sports Program on 19. Then you come down to Barbados Youth. Now they're on 17, but they have the luxury of not having to worry about relegation. And then St. Catherine on 15, they do have to worry about relegation. So it's very interesting at the top and the bottom. In fact, just some 4 points separating BDF from St. Catherine at the bottom, and then BDF just 2 behind Gladiola. I think really everyone above them seems relatively safe because Gladiola on 21 and then Carlton on 31. One would think Carlton would have to play some very poor cricket to get into the relegation zone.
Well, I wouldn't say safe because we've still got a matter of some 5 series of matches to be played. It's just about the halfway stage. What I would have preferred to say is that we can draw a line between the teams at the top and those at the bottom. And I was actually suggesting that Carlton would be the line.
Would be the line?
Carlton would be the line.
So you've not written off UWA as yet, or Spartan, in terms of winning the championship?
No, I'm talking about, no, definitely. Neither do I write off, suggest who will be the team to be demoted. Right? Although, I think the teams that really have to watch themselves, though, judging on the form we've seen so far, are definitely St. Catherine, Gladiola, whose form has taken a bit of a dip this season.
And especially for the period of time that they're going to be without Ashley Nurse, who is really an inspiration in that side.
He is basically a talisman in that side. And they've also had the services earlier this season of Javon Searles, who has made something of an impact, actually captain decided at one stage. So yes, they are another one that have to be careful. And the BDF SP, falling in that bottom area. Although generally they tend to be a team that will middle out as the season goes on, and I think their team will be strengthened somewhat with the return of a couple of players who would have had stints in the English leagues. In the previous series here against Empire, we saw Vitaly Wilkinson and Antonio Greenwich coming back into the lineup. Demario Goodman, one of the leading wicket takers last season and over the last couple of seasons, left-arm spinner, very prolific wicket taker. He should be back sometime soon. So we expect to see a bit of strengthening there with the BDF SV. St. Catherine, to their credit, were able to mobilize a few of their more experienced players. In that, the 4 series of matches, we saw the likes of Ken Roy Williams, Alright Batson, Shamar Cook coming back into the fold. So if that is an indication that St. Catherine may very well be getting their act together and being able to put out their best side, because early in the season, a very, very depleted, very young and inexperienced lineup, and they have been, it has shown itself in their struggles to actually. They got their first batting points for the season in the last round of matches against UWA. Interestingly, UWA having forfeited that first match, finding themselves in mid-table. But somehow or another, I get the feeling that this is not the dominant UWA of old. You know, they are also without a number of key players with the CPL.
You're trying to tell me that the UWA, they're run out of resources?
But not of numbers, of quality.
Of quality.
That's the difference. They don't have a problem with numbers. They will always have numbers, but they're running out of quality cricketers, I'm saying. I don't see the reserves, this particular outfit this season.
The negativity at the start of the season, they failing to give themselves a push and that early momentum. So therefore, the psychological factor, do you think that's playing into it, or simply a matter of the players not being good enough?
I think I will go with the second option. The players not really, not that UWA that we know. I guess it is a matter, again, we're talking about transition. You know, and a number of young players now who have got to find their feet. Maybe in another couple of seasons, this same unit may very well get back up to that standard.
I'm concerned though that if will they go on to win the competition, that the fact that they were gifted those points may taint their success.
They're not to blame for anything, and they have definitely been one of the most improved sides in the competition, nevertheless. And themselves and Empire, I believe, the more consistent sides so far.
Okay, so when we come back, then we're going to look at the top of the standings. We looked at the bottom half in a certain amount of depth just now. When we come back, we're going to see, we're going to talk about the teams at the top. You know better, Wayne, than to ask you to pick a winner. And let me compliment you, by the way, because on this show, we've asked you to stick your neck out before, and you always said, you know, cricket is a game of glorious uncertainties. You're not prepared, things can happen. And in that very last series, when most people had Empire to just win that game easily, I remember very clearly you saying to your colleagues, if only they'd listen, by the way, saying to your colleagues that you're not going to write the game off. Things can happen in cricket. Respect you, Wayne, if only they had listened to you. But we'll be back on Anything Cricket. Let's stop.
Don't let annoying pests bug you. Lick them for 6. Omega Pest Control is the perfect solution. We are experts in termite and pest eradication, specialized mosquito treatments, foundation, residential, commercial, and industrial treatments. Call us day or night, or visit us at our office located at Fieldside Drive, Long Gap, St. Michael. Omega Pest Control. Call 425-5954, 231-6526, or email us at opcl@caribsurf.com.
Welcome back. So Wayne, as I said earlier, Empire and Wildy in a battle at the top, just 2 points separating them, and then a bit of a gap, and then there's Wonders, and then maybe another gap, and a couple of teams there also fighting, UWI among them. How do you think, how is it going? How's it shaping up? What's your gut feeling?
Well, as I mentioned before, Wildy and Empire are two of the more consistent sides that we have seen so far. But this competition, Philip, remembering the point system, and one match can make a significant difference, because a team winning a game outright and collecting the maximum 20 points can find themselves spurted up the table. So, for instance,
Spartan on 39?
Spartan on 39, and Spartan were to win the next match and collect 19 points. The next thing they will find themselves on 58. You know, while one of the teams at the top, Wanderers, finishing a game in a draw, all of a sudden you can see Spartan above them.
It's interesting you say that, because Wanderers and Spartans will be playing each other at Darrells Road in the next series. And Wanderers on 49, Spartan on 39, and they're sitting in 3rd and 4th position.
Well, that was not rehearsed. Definitely the fact that I mentioned Wanderers and Spartan, but yes, so I mean that is a perfect example.
Yes, because if
Spartan should get the better of that game. You know, so the point system and this early stage of the season, it is difficult to really call to call the eventual outcome. Although when you look at the teams and look at some of them on form, you really immediately know who are the better teams and who are not the better ones.
Gladiola and Barbados Youth, they will fight in a near bottom of the table clash. Remember, Gladiola, they are struggling somewhat on 21, and Barbados Youth on 17.
So generally, Barbados Youth have been the whipping boys of this competition. So Gladiola will see this as an opportunity to raise themselves out of that cellar group by trying to get the better of these youngsters and to win.
The boys are playing at King Garden, though. That's they tend to bat fairly well there for sure. That tends to be a high scoring ground, isn't it?
Yes, but the better teams will still defeat them outright. You know, will still win against the youngsters, and the youngsters haven't done a lot this season to suggest that they will be troublesome to the major sides.
The inconsistent Barbados Event Force Sports program on 19 points up against UWI on 36. Well, that match will be played at Paragon. And
that game at Paragon, that could be an interesting matchup also. As you did hit the key word with the BDF SP, inconsistent. You know, one day they can be giant killers. You know, we saw it earlier this season. The scoring well over 300 against Carlton.
Yes.
At Blackrock, and then in the last series of matches, finding themselves really tumbling at 35 for 8, 35 for 5, 39 for 6, and losing that match really because of poor batting. And so,
in the end, it showed with a slightly better batting performance, they could very well have caused Empire some heartbreak.
As it turned out. So but against UWI will favor their chances to come out on top.
St. Catherine versus Carlton at Bayfield.
Well, a resurgent St. Catherine back at home against a Carlton team that has done very well at stages.
Haven't fully settled into that level yet, as far as I'm concerned. Good players, but as a team, they haven't fully settled as yet. And the best for the last. Wildy against the Empire side, and that match will be played at Wildy.
Well, this is a key clash, and this could very well be coming at this juncture of the season, right in the middle of the season. This could very well be the pivot around which the season revolves, and this could very well decide the eventual champions. So
lots of cricket to look forward to on the weekend in terms of the elite. So you've got the CPL going on, and you've also got the local cricket in terms of the elite. Come out and support your players, support your favorite teams.
Rascals Barbados. Let us serve you in a relaxed atmosphere with complimentary Wi-Fi, or try a takeout meal. Rascals on the Mighty Griner Highway. Call 538-9990.
That's our show. Thanks for watching. Special thanks to DA Computer Services and to the Caribbean Media Corporation. Join us again soon for another episode of Anything Cricket. Let's talk.